Will the court please come to order? Quorum is present. All legal notices have been posted, and this court is duly called. Can I get a motion to adjourn the court for the October term?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Is there any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by the usual sound of voting.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign. Chairs in the affirmative. May I get a motion to open the court for the November term?
So moved. Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any unreadiness? All those in favor, let it be known by the usual sound of voting.
Aye.
Those who oppose, same sign. Will the bailiff please open the court?
All rise. The Dallas County Commissioner Court is now in session for the month of November 2015 term with our Lord Commissioner Price presiding. Please remain standing for invocation.
The invocation today will be given by a guest of Commissioner Dr. Elba Garcia.
Thank you, Commissioner Price, colleagues, members of the audience. Our invocation is going to be given by Mr. Andrew Jacobs, and I will ask him to come forward. Mr. Jacobs was born in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania in 1984, and he's the youngest of 3 children. His family moved to Dallas in 1986 and settled in Willis Point, Texas, where he currently lives with his wife of 4 years and their 2 dogs, Hank and Nikki. Mr. Jacobs graduated from Ford High School in Kinlan, Texas in 2002, and is currently working on his 3rd year towards a bachelor's degree in business administration. He is also an ordained minister. Mr. Jacobs currently works for Dallas County Road and Bridge District 4, where he started his career as a part-time temporary field worker in March of 2013. In November of 2013, Mr. Jacobs was promoted to Equipment Operator 1. In April of 2014, he was promoted to an Equipment Operator 2. In August of 2014, Mr. Jacobs was promoted once again to his current position as a Safety Coordinator and Shop Assistant. He has a proven record and a component of a big success that Road and Bridge District 4 has delivered in the highest level of customer service. He's knowledgeable about street maintenance, field operations, and highly skilled as an equipment operator. In addition, Mr. Jacobs possesses strong administrative and people skills. He's highly respected by his peers, which are here today, staff and Road and Bridge District 4. As such, he has been recently recognized by his peers for exhibiting excellence in customer service, a commitment, and a can-do attitude. Thank you so much, Minister Jacobs, for being here with us.
Commissioner, will you bow our heads as we pray? Heavenly Father, we come here before you today to give you honor and praise, for you're worthy of praise. You're the source of all that is good. You're the source of all our blessings. We thank you, Lord, for every gift that we have been given. We thank you for the opportunity to come and gather together this day. Lord, as the session begins, we ask that you would guide the thoughts and actions of this court so that it best serves the citizens of Dallas County. We ask that you would lead and inspire this court so that it's full of wisdom, productivity, and respect for one another. Thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to come and accomplish our goals while maintaining your attitude. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. And Judge, I also wanted to recognize Mr. Aguilar, Gilbert Aguilar, Road and Bridge number 4 Superintendent, and some of our, crew in District 4. Thank you all for being here.
They're supposed to be out on the road.
They're supposed to be.
Okay, got it. They're back. Okay. Where's the minister's
And our first resolution this morning will be presented by Commissioner Daniel.
Thank you very much, and welcome this morning. Would Janet Sigler, she is the committee chair of the 2015 World Diabetes Day Symposium. Is she here? Please come forward. She's also a volunteer from the North Texas American Diabetes Association. Thank you for being here. Would like to present this resolution, whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court wishes to observe November as National Diabetes Month, a time for communities across the county and the United States to shine a spotlight on diabetes, encourage action to raise awareness, support families and communities, and take steps to stop diabetes. And whereas 2 out of 3 people with diabetes die of heart disease or stroke, diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure and new cases of blindness among adults. The rate of amputation for people with diabetes is 10 times higher than for people without diabetes. About 60 to 70% of people with diabetes have mild to severe forms of nerve damage that could result in pain in the feet or hands, slowed digestion, sexual dysfunction, and other nerve problems. Whereas 45% of the American population is living with diabetes or prediabetes. Nearly 30 million children and adults in the United States have the disease. Another 86 million adults in the United States have prediabetes, a condition that increases their chances of developing type 2 diabetes. In Dallas County, 11.4% of residents have the disease, a higher percentage compared to Texas at 9.6%, and the U.S. at 8.3%. And whereas the American Diabetes Association estimates the total national cost of diagnosed diabetes in the United States is close to $300 billion, including approximately $250 billion in direct medical costs and $85 billion in reduced productivity, which is disability, work loss, premature mortality. 1 in 10 healthcare dollars is spent treating diabetes and its complications. 1 in 5 healthcare dollars is spent caring for people with the disease. And whereas there is good news, diabetes complications can be prevented or delayed by properly managing blood glucose, blood pressure, and cholesterol levels, eating healthy, physical activity, exercise, and healthy behaviors, such as not smoking, also can help lower the risk of diabetes complications. Early diagnosis and treatment of diabetes may prevent the development of these health problems. And whereas World Diabetes Day 2015 is Thursday, November the 12th, 2015. Join the North Texas American Diabetes Association at Lone Star Park in Grand Prairie to inform and inspire participants to help stop diabetes through education, advocacy, and financial support. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize November 12th as World Diabetes Day, an official United Nations World Day, and the month of November as National Diabetes Month. Let's support the effort to stop diabetes, and I so move.
Second it.
All
With
those
a
in-
comment. Go ahead.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
I'll yield to you if you have some other comments, Dr. Daniels. I second it for a couple of reasons. First of all, thank you for being here. You know, resolutions always sound good, but they resolve to do something. And I think it was a couple of months ago, I think at least 2 or 3 of us sat down with Parkland because I asked for the numbers with regards to diabetes. I have been challenged by the C.V. Roman Medical Society, which is African American physicians, with regards to the number of amputations, because unfortunately African Americans, Hispanic, present in the latter form with regards to most diseases, and therefore were subjected to probably more amputations. Surprisingly enough, the number one group demographic with regards to amputations is Hispanic. Number one, maybe proportionally because of the population, but they were number one, and Hispanic women and men. I guess when I read the resolution, I guess what still continues to bother me is that the fact that the Department of Agriculture had a bill of about $965 billion in the appropriations. And in that bill, they still talk about food deserts. And it sounds good to talk about eating healthy, but access to medical care and everything else is still a challenge. Not in India, not in some other country, right here in Dallas, Texas. And we are a candidate for some of those appropriations in that food desert. The problem is, of course, the county is not in a position to be able to generate it. It's got to be the city. So I think my challenge to you is, until such time that we create some options in these food deserts. You know, it sounds good to talk about it. Healthy eating, access is still an issue.
I
Gee,
totally
was gonna
agree.
say something.
Okay.
And we are well aware of that. Actually, there is the K-Craft, can't remember the first name, but there is an institute in South Dallas that offers a farmer's market every Friday.
Juanita Craft.
The Juanita Craft.
Thank you.
I'm
Thank you.
aware of Juanita
I
Craft.
think we're all aware of
Yeah,
that. of what's
Fraser.
going
You
on.
know,
Like
and
Fraser.
it is like just a baby, not even a baby step, it's a crawl to get to where we actually need to be when you're talking about access. So we totally agree.
I was going to say a few words about diabetes. I was diagnosed about 15 years ago, and so do pay attention and have read, you know, what is going on not only here but around the country, and what is available, and what are better ways to address the situation as an individual, but then also recognizing too, as a community, as a population, what's going on in the United States with this. As far as what's going on in Dallas County, too, the leadership of not only, hopefully, Parkland stepping up, plus the variety of associations to educate, because it is in the prevention, it is in the awareness of what we can do to address this before we get to the point where our bodies are showing signs of diabetes and the impacts. So what is your
Approximately-
association doing, and what can we do to work together to?
Well, approximately 1 year ago, Parkland Hospital put together the Global Diabetes Program. And Dr. Luigi Meneghini and Kelly Rodriguez are speaking at World Diabetes Day about Parkland's program and kind of the state of the union and the state of the state of Texas and what, you know, is happening here. As far as the American Diabetes Association, we have a speakers bureau, group of volunteers that will go out into the communities if requested and give presentations on what is diabetes, prevention, nutrition, meal planning, the importance of exercise, and so forth. We also will attend health fairs. So if companies or any government agencies would like to have a health fair, we will come if requested and disseminate information about the same topics.
Thank you very much for coming down, Ms. Sigler, because we are very aggressively going to be working together, because as we're prone to say, we're not done with this yet. So thank you very much, and thank you, colleagues, for
And I
your
just
support.
wanted to thank Commissioner Daniels for bringing this resolution. It's about awareness, it's about education, it's about changing lifestyles. And we all know that. And when 2 out of 3 people with diabetes died of a heart attack or a stroke, you know, pretty much we're saying that you're going to have one of those outcomes. So, like Commissioner Price rightly said, you know, we're challenging all our health institutions to monitor, to do things in a different way. And there are some studies that they've been working. I think Commissioner Daniels, Commissioner Price, and I have been talking to them about some of these programs. And hey, like Commissioner Daniel just mentioned, we still have a lot of work to do, but definitely education is in the forefront. And thank you all for being here. And let's make November a good day for awareness about diabetes.
I'd like to add my thanks as well. You know, it's so important it's your North Texas American Diabetes Association, and, you know, use us.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, and our next resolution will be presented from Commissioner Garcia.
Thank you, Judge, colleagues, members of the audience. It's a great honor for me to present this resolution, and I'm going to ask Ms. Alvinia Sheree Barge to come forward with all the delegation from the tax office. Mr. Ames couldn't be here today for personal reasons, but he definitely said that he wished he could be here with all of you. And the resolution reads as follows. Come on, guys, come on. And the family, I just met Ms. Birch's mother, and there we go. The resolution reads as follows. Whereas the Dallas County Commissioners Court takes a special notice where an individual has given a long and faithful service to Dallas County. And whereas Alvinia Cherie Barge was born in Dallas, Texas. Her parents are Helen Barge and the late Philip Barge Sr. She graduated from Justin F. Kimball High School and attended Mansfield Business School, where she received a data entry diploma in 1989. And whereas she began her career with Dallas County on June 5, 1990, at the Dallas County Tax Office as a motor vehicle representative, and has served Dallas County continuously and diligently for 25 years. And whereas, as the tax office representative, she has increased her vast knowledge of motor vehicle laws, policies, and procedures, always greeting customers with a warm smile, and we can see that, Ms. Barge, and gracious manners, meeting their needs and making customers feel good about their tax office experience. And whereas Ms. Barge is committed to making things better for the people she works with and the taxpayers she serves, her many years of knowledge have enabled her to mentor other representatives as well. Whereas she grew up as a member of the Galilee Church of God in Christ, where she began singing gospel music, and is currently a member of the River of Life Church, where she also sings and enjoys attending church fellowships. And whereas, in addition to singing, Ms. Barge enjoys going out to eat, attending events, and spending time with her friends and family. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and extend sincere appreciation to Alvina Cherie Barge for 25 years of faithful and dedicated service, and expresses best wishes in her future years of service to Dallas County. And I so move.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Mr. Hampton is going to say.
Good morning, Judge and Commissioners. First of all, I want to start out by thanking you for this.
What is your name?
Oh, my name is Paul Hamilton. I am the Chief Deputy Tax Assessor for Dallas County.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, Mr. Hamilton.
I want to start by thanking each of you, and I've worked with you guys before, so you guys all know who I am. Anyway, I want to thank you for this resolution this morning and for recognizing Ms. Barge for 25 years of service to Dallas County. I've been with the tax office for just over a year, and I occasionally walk through some of the various areas where our people work, just to see, not so much to monitor them or to see what's going on, but to see how can I help them. Because I come there with a philosophy that we in the administrative area are indeed the support staff, and they're the people who make things happen for Dallas County. And I've always been cheerfully greeted by this young lady here with this beautiful smile. And I look at her and I think, how on earth can you have been here 25 years? Jeez. So I stand here as a lawyer to tell you that I think somebody here probably broke the law at one point by hiring somebody underage. But in any event, I want to again thank you for recognizing her here today, and I want to thank her for the time that she has spent in our office. She does just a fantastic job each and every day of working with the various subcontractors that contract with Dallas County in providing excellent service to our motoring public. And with that, I will let her share with you her thoughts and introduce you to her family.
Well, first of all, if I had to sum up this special day in one word, it will be thankful. Thankful, thankful, thankful. I would just like to thank Dr. Garcia and all of the county commissioners and the county judge for this great honor. There's a passage in the Bible that simply says, "Let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works." And by me saying that, I would just like to thank Mr. Ames and Mr. Hamilton for those thoughtful and kind words. I would also like to thank all of the management and all of my co-workers that have been a part of this great journey. I would also like to thank my family, my beautiful mother, my handsome brother, which is the musician of the family, and all of my family members that came to want to be a part of this special event. And last but not least, he's no longer here on earth, but I know he's smiling from heaven. And that's none other than my father, the late Philip Barge Sr. I wanted to kind of share a little something with you. About 2 weeks ago, I was reflecting on this 25-year journey. And tears began to just stream down my face. And it wasn't because I was sad, but I was just simply reminded that it was prayer and perseverance that I made it this far. Prayer for the leading and the guidance. Perseverance during those difficult and discouraging moments. That's why I can stand here to say I'm so thankful. But of course, I cannot take the credit. That's the reason why I can say thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for these 25 years, and I just want to thank you, Lord. God bless you.
I thought
He can't stay behind.
I thought we were gonna have church. I was okay with it.
That was great, Ms. Burgess. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
The song in the heart.
Anyone that makes Commissioner Price sing at 9 o'clock in the morning on Tuesday is doing the Lord's job. That's good, Commissioner. I didn't know you can sing.
Hey, all black folks sing.
Humble. She can sing.
Oh, okay.
Sounds
I
good.
hate to break that up.
Tough act to follow.
And I will present the last two resolutions. The first resolution is for continued Medicaid participation for Planned Parenthood in Texas. And I understand that we have speakers on this resolution. I'll read and move the resolution, and after a second, we'll take comments and speakers on the resolution before voting pursuant to our rules. And the resolution reads as follows. Whereas Planned Parenthood has been a trusted nonprofit healthcare provider in Dallas County since 1935 and currently provides high-quality, compassionate care at 4 health centers in Dallas County in Addison, Cedar Hill, Dallas, and Mesquite. And whereas for 80 years, generations of women and men in Dallas County have counted on Planned Parenthood for affordable preventative care, including a full range of birth control to plan and space pregnancies, wellness exams, breast and cervical cancer screenings, testing and treatment for sexually transmitted infections for men and women, screening and treatment for other health issues, and award-winning health education. And whereas in 2014, Planned Parenthood health centers in Dallas County served 15,265 patients, providing more than 19,460 tests or treatment for sexually transmitted infections for women and men, including 2,800 HIV tests, 2,500 cervical cancer screenings, 2,780 breast exams, and 169 colonoscopy procedures to examine and diagnose abnormal cervical cells. And whereas, in addition to providing medical services that minimize and eliminate entirely barriers that women face for assessing reproductive health care services, Planned Parenthood provides community health education and outreach. In 2014, Planned Parenthood provided direct health education to prevent teen pregnancy and sexually transmitted infections in North Texas to 8,059 individuals. And whereas in Dallas, Planned Parenthood's peer-to-peer education program, Teenage Communication Theater, has provided health education to area high school volunteers for more than 30 years. Troop members perform original interactive theater pieces to provide accurate, straightforward information on a variety of topics important to teens. And whereas Planned Parenthood is committed to serving women, men, and teens in our community, regardless of their income or insurance status, this includes those who are a part of the Medicaid program. Currently, 8.6% of Planned Parenthood's patients are Medicaid patients who receive their health care at Planned Parenthood. Planned Parenthood is proud to partner with government agencies to help provide care to those in need. And we know that each public dollar invested in family planning healthcare services is estimated to save more than $7 in Medicaid and other public expenditures. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the Dallas County Commissioners Court supports the continued participation of Planned Parenthood in the Medicaid program in Texas to ensure individuals have access to critical health care in Dallas County, and I so move.
Second.
And we will now hear from speakers. Would the bailiff please read our rules of decorum?
All Commissioner Court attendees are hereby advised that this meeting is conducted in accordance with the provisions of Dallas County Code, Section 74-71. Visited and registered speakers are to preserve order and decorum at all times. Personal, profane, or slanderous remarks are not appropriate and will not be allowed at any time during this public meeting. Any and all pauses be kept brief and observant to time constraints, and disruptive visitors and registered speakers may be removed and are subject to penalties provided in the state of Texas Penal Code Sections 38.13, 42.01, and 42.05. Registered individual speakers are limited to a maximum of 3 minutes, and a maximum discussion on any one topic is limited to 30 minutes.
And I understand some of the speakers who've signed up may not speak or may wish to not speak. But what I'll do is I'll read the names 3 times, and if you choose to speak, come forward. And if you choose not to speak, don't come forward. And our first speaker is Miss Chelsea Davis. And if you could just state your name and address for the record, please, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Davis. I earned a biomedical engineering degree focusing on medical imaging from Duke University, and I believe that Dallas women deserve better health care than Planned Parenthood provides. I come here offering a technical perspective because I believe the commissioners and Your Honor misunderstand cervical cancer and breast cancer and how they are diagnosed and treated. First, a pap smear does not detect cervical cancer. Cervical cancer can only be diagnosed by a cancer specialist after a PET scan, which is the only imaging technique that detects cancer cells, followed by surgical removal of at least a portion of the cervix. Planned Parenthood has no ability to perform cervical cancer screenings because they do not own a single PET scan device, nor do they perform surgical removals of the cervix. Planned Parenthood just tests for STDs using a Pap test and sometimes reports the results, which is not a cancer screening. For example, I have 3 incurable STDs, and I actually have the high-risk type that causes cervical cancer. My doctor says it usually takes 5 years for the cancer to develop after the STD infection. So after 5 years, who's going to order the PET scan or remove my cervix as a precaution? No one, which is a problem to discuss another day, but certainly not Planned Parenthood. They don't do that. The same is true for breast cancer. They don't do that either. They do not own a single mammogram machine. Mammograms are only recommended for older women, 45 to 54 anyway. But now that Parkland finally bought a PET scan machine for the first time this year, poor Dallas women can now be properly screened for cancer at Parkland, where they have to go physicals anyway and where the funds are desperately needed. Birth control pills also cause cancer, and Planned Parenthood facilities only hand out the high-risk, high-dosage hormone birth control pills, not the lighter, less dangerous ones that my doctor would prescribe for me. But Planned Parenthood sends the wrong message that sex is safe and sex is not safe with multiple partners. With regard to money, I believe Planned Parenthood is a sect founded by Margaret Sanger, who is a white supremacist, believed that blacks should be eliminated, which is why it's located in South Dallas. Dallas women deserve better health care, better facilities, and STD education that's accurate. Planned Parenthood hires bad doctors who are widely known to mutilate black women using harmful techniques and medications, which cost the county more money. Actually, the cervical damage caused by the cutting is known to cause very premature births. Very premature births require expensive hospital stays, often for 6 months. Over 35 peer-reviewed research papers and meta-analyses have confirmed that the abortions performed by Planned Parenthood are costing us later and very premature births. Also, in 2013, the maternal and infant mortality rates among black women were double compared to that of white women. Given that statistic is even more important for South Dallas black women to receive better health care and better facilities. Planned Parenthood is also a cover for human trafficking and sexual predators. Mark Crutcher of Life Dynamics Study reveals Planned Parenthood's cover-up of child rape and sex crimes. They circumvent parental notification laws. Thank you.
Thank you. You're out of time. Thank you. And our next speaker is is Miss Emerson Boggs. I beg your pardon.
Hello, my name is Emerson Boggs, and I've never spoken in front of this many people at once, so you'll have to forgive my nervousness. I'm studying biochemistry and public health at the University of Texas at Dallas. I'm also very well versed in the logistics of medical procedures, and specifically in the provision of them to low-income women in the Metroplex. I would like to absolutely defend the way that Planned Parenthood conducts our services. The services that we're talking about today are all preventative. They're all invaluable to Texas women. In 2014 alone, we helped 13,000 Texas women who are on Medicaid to receive STI screenings, which are absolutely pretty much conclusive. We performed breast and cervical cancer screenings, which do not require PET scans to confirm. And we provided birth control, which does not have to be high dose. We also provide IUDs and implant birth controls, which aren't hormonal, don't have to be hormonal at all. So I also wanted to talk about Planned Parenthood's education programs, specifically, like you mentioned, the TACT program, the Teenage Communication Theater, which really engages teenagers in sex ed. In 2014, we helped over 8,000 teenagers to become engaged in sex ed, to talk about issues like teen pregnancy and STD prevention, because safe sex can be safe, obviously, and can be fun, and we want to engage the youth in the Metroplex to keep STDs down, keep teen pregnancy down, and Planned Parenthood is doing perhaps more than any other organization to do that. So, I don't think I need a full 3 minutes.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our speakers, if we would, when you begin to speak, please state your name and your address for us. And our next speaker is Mr. Voltaire Cortez. No. Okay. Mr. Voltaire Cortez, Mr. Voltaire Cortez. All right. And our next speaker is Miss Leslie Gutierrez. Miss Leslie Gutierrez. Miss Leslie Gutierrez. All right. And our next speaker is Miss let's see, Nan Kirkpatrick. Miss Nan Kirkpatrick. Miss. Is that her?
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr.
Good morning, y'all. My name is Nan Kirkpatrick, and my address is 3306 James Drive, Dallas, Texas, 75227. And I come to you today as a Planned Parenthood patient and as a Planned Parenthood volunteer. When I was 24 years old and I was waiting tables and I didn't have access to health insurance, I wasn't really sure where I could go to get a well woman exam. I knew that I needed to have a well woman exam because I needed to get my pap smear and my breast exam, and I needed to check in with a doctor about my general health. But I wasn't really sure where to go, except I knew that I could go to Planned Parenthood. The power in Planned Parenthood is that people in the community know and they trust Planned Parenthood. People know that when they don't know where else to go for health care and well woman exams, they know the name Planned Parenthood, and they know that Planned Parenthood serves women in the North Texas area. I was able to get birth control. I was able to get all the health care. I've been to non-Planned Parenthood gynecologists, and I've been to Planned Parenthood for my well woman exam. It's the exact same exam at both doctors' offices. So Planned Parenthood is providing the same services that my gynecologist would provide at a non-Planned Parenthood facility. And my gynecologist, if I needed certain, like, more heavy-duty cancer screenings, would refer me to another provider to provide many of those services, which is the same thing that Planned Parenthood can do. Planned Parenthood also has been there for me when I needed, STI screenings. When I was younger and I was sexually active with multiple partners, I knew that when I had, a little scare or I had a concern about my physical health, I could go to Planned Parenthood and receive the services that I needed to get screened and to make sure that I was safe and okay. And Planned Parenthood provided me with information that helped me make better decisions about my sexual health and my sexual life. Planned Parenthood provides teenagers with education on what is a healthy relationship and sexual education, which is something that is often lacking in our schools. And this is information that people need to have in our community. So I just call on you I support Planned Parenthood, and in my years of not only being a patient in Planned Parenthood, but also a volunteer with Planned Parenthood, I've met countless people who couldn't be here today, but who also received life-saving care from Planned Parenthood. So I thank you very much for this resolution, and I support Planned Parenthood. Thank you.
Thank you. If any representatives from that concludes our speakers on the topic. If any representatives from Planned Parenthood wish to come forward, we'll take a vote on this resolution and present the resolution. Yes, Ms. Hart, please come forward. And anyone else who's with Planned Parenthood. And while they're coming forward, a couple of housekeeping items. We've got several speakers on several topics, some of which we will be hearing today. And so how that'll work is when we get to your item, we'll call on the speakers to speak if they desire to speak. And then if your item's not on the agenda, then you'll be heard with the public speakers at the conclusion of court, as is our custom and rules. And with that, we'll take a vote on this resolution. All those in favor signify by saying aye. 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 Any opposed?
Nay.
Any abstaining? The motion carries 4-1.
Judge, I just wanted to make a clarification. When you read the resolution, you say 169 colonoscopies is colposcopies, which is cervical examination, not rectal examination.
Yes, thank you for that, Commissioner Garcia. On behalf of the thousands of men and women that we serve every year, thank you so much for your resolution in support of Planned Parenthood and the vital health care services we provide every day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. And I have the next resolution as well. And that resolution is for Veterans Day and the 71st anniversary of Dallas County Veterans Services Office. Will those from the Veterans Office please come forward? They include Ms. Tracy Little, James Henderson, Lorette Dominic, and David Thomas. Good morning.
Good morning.
Whereas in November of 1919, President Woodrow Wilson proclaimed the 11th day of November as the first commemoration of Armistice Day, with the following words: "To us in America, the reflections of Armistice Day will be filled with solemn pride in the heroism of those who died in the country's service and with gratitude for the victory of World War I. And whereas on May 13th, 1938, Congress made the 11th of November a legal holiday, a day to be dedicated to the cause of world peace and to be thereafter celebrated and known as Armistice Day, which was later amended to strike out the word armistice and insert in its place the word veterans. And whereas on November 11th, 2015, Americans will commemorate the 96th anniversary of this proclamation and honor those who have taken the solemn oath to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And whereas the leadership of Dallas County recognizes the need for an agency to assist its veterans and their families with obtaining federal, state, and local benefits to which they may be entitled. And whereas the Veterans Services Center and the Dallas County Veterans Services offices, funded by the Dallas County and the Community Chest, were established in 1944 to address this need. And whereas the Veterans Service Center and the County Veterans Service Office were initially separate offices, they merged in 1945, retained the official name of the Dallas County Veterans Services Office, and from 1951 through the present day have functioned under the direct supervision and funding of the county judge and the Dallas County Commissioners Court. And whereas the Dallas County Veterans Services Offices has employed 6 Veteran Services officers in 71 years, responsible for the success of this organization: James A. Gilreath, serving from 1944 to 1945, David A. Gates, serving from 1945 to 1980, John Pope, serving from 1980 until his untimely death in March of 1983, Jack G. Parks, serving from March of 1983 to March of 1987, Stonell Green, serving from 1987 to 2006, and Tracy Little, serving from 2006 to the current day. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby recognize and commemorate the 71st anniversary of the founding of the Dallas County Veterans Service Office, and on this upcoming Veterans Day, honors the sacrifices of all the brave men and women who served in America's armed forces, urging all citizens of Dallas County to show their appreciation for those who continue to serve, and I so move.
I'm going to second with an amendment, if you'll amend it to show Colonel Stonell Green and Major, are you a Major or Colonel?
Master Sergeant. Master Sergeant.
Mr. Sergeant.
Master Sergeant. Colonel Stonell Green.
All right, we can do that. And with that amendment, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tracy Little, the Director of Veteran Services for Dallas County. And I'd like to say, first of all, thank you, Judge, and thank you, Commissioners, for your continued support. This morning, we have just a very small presentation. And without further ado, I'd like to introduce James Henderson, who will lead that presentation. Thank you.
Good morning, Judge, Commissioners. As Tracy just said, we want to thank the Judge for sponsoring the resolution for this Veterans Day. This Veterans Day, we have 2 very important proclamations. One is the 71st anniversary of what is now the Dallas County Veterans Services, and the other is the Veterans Day resolution, which is for Veterans Day, the 11th day of November. Every year is celebrated for the veterans. This is a day that, unlike Memorial Day, where people really don't know what to say to a veteran, On Veterans Day is that time that you can actually get with a veteran, talk to a veteran, and say thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you for what you've done for our country. Thank you for your continued service. This is how you commemorate Veterans Day, by just saying thank you to every veteran. With that being said, we have two small presentations that we'd like to present this morning. If I can get all of the veterans in the room to please stand, and the ones that are standing, if you could just raise your hand so that you can be recognized. Please continue to stand with me. For the last few years, the Dallas County Veteran Services, we have put our heads together and we wanted to come up with some type of medallion or some type of lapel pin that would actually depict the citizens of Dallas County that were veterans. This year, what we did was finally got our heads together and came up with a design. That design, what I'm holding right now, is going to be presented to each one of the veterans here in Dallas County. Just a description of the design. We were able to get the skyline of Dallas County, of Dallas. In that skyline, we put the great state of Texas. On the outsides of the medallion here, we have Dallas County. On the bottom, we have Veteran Services, and in the very bottom of it, we have the word veteran. This is something that we're going to present today to each veteran that is in our audience. And I'm going to have Ms. Lavette Dominic, which is on my right, if she could take care of the veterans, take care of the veterans on this side, and David Thomas, if you could present the veterans on this side. As they present these lapel pins to the veterans, we also had the awesome look at presenting or having a medallion minted. Just a little history. This is a coin, very prestigious piece of material, I'm going to say, a token that if you ever go into a veteran's office, for the most part, you'll see these things all around. And what I'd like to do is just give you a brief history of what the coin is. Back in World War I, when there was actually no aviation for fighting, most of the aviators in the United States came from very prestigious families. Because at that time, back in 1917, for the most part, people didn't have airplanes or didn't have the ability to send their children to aviator school. So our aviators came from all walks of the United States. With that, there was a lieutenant, very prestigious lieutenant, had money, and he decided for every aviator that was in his unit, he was going to mint a medallion. He did that, and he gave each one of the aviators in his unit a medallion. World War I started. One of the aviators, unfortunately, was shot down. And at that time, for an aviator to be shot down meant sudden death. However, this aviator lived. He was captured by the Germans. Once the Germans caught him, they took all of his belongings, clothes, everything. However, that medallion that was given to him by his lieutenant, he kept in a pouch that was attached around his neck. There was a raid one night by the French. At that raid, he escaped the Germans. Once he escaped, he had no clothes. All of his documents were taken. The only thing that he had was this medallion around his neck. So what he did was found some German clothes, which he was in Germany, found the German clothes, able to put on the German clothes, and he escaped. He escaped to the French border. Once he got to the French border, what happened was the French actually caught him and thought that he was a not an adversary, but an enemy, because he was dressed in German clothes and speaking English. The only thing that he had to show that he was an ally was that medallion that he still had around his neck. He pulled up that medallion. They were actually going to execute him, behead him, the French were. And he pulled out this medallion, and the person that was going to behead him actually saw the medallion, recognized the inscription that was on the medallion, and stopped the execution. Subsequently, with that stopping of that execution, he was released, and once he was released, the French gave him a bottle of wine. Now, with that bottle of wine, we go back to the actual meaning of the medallion. Now, what happens is the coin represents the medallion. And the coin, for all purposes in today's military, is something that shows camaraderie between the units, and also just a part of being in that particular unit. And if you are to go to a bar or a place where you can have a little bit of drink, the coin will represent that medallion. And if you are coined, or if the person, anyone would present this coin to you, if you do not have this coin on your possession, then you have to buy the drinks, which at the time represents the French giving that soldier that bottle of wine. With this newly minted coin, what I'd like to do at this time is actually present the first coin to Miss Tracy Little. Tracy, thank you for your service. And as I stated, what the coin represents is, one, being a part of the unit. And at this time, I'd like for Ms. Tracy Little to present a coin to the county judge and also to our county commissioners.
Yeah, you can have mine. I don't think.
I won't be called out at the bar.
Thank you very much.
I'll drink. I won't be in the bar.
You don't have to. You can do juice.
Yeah, okay.
I don't like to hear. Thank you, Ms. Little. Good to see you.
And lastly, as I should have done in the beginning, is again introduce our staff here. I'm James Henderson. I'm the lead caseworker. To my left, to my right, that's right, that's military right. To my right, I have Mr. David Thomas, which is our admin assistant. To my left, Ms. Levette Dominic, and also with Ms. Levette Dominic, I would like to publicly announce and congratulate her on her accreditation through the Department of Veteran Affairs. With that accreditation, it affords her the opportunity to prepare, present, and prosecute claims to the Department of Veteran Affairs for all of our veteran community. And with that being said, I'd like to publicly congratulate her with a round of applause. And last but not least, Ms. Tracy Little, the Director of Veteran Services.
Well, thank you, everybody, and thanks to all the veterans in the audience for your service and for your dedication. You are truly appreciated, and we thank you all. And I won't take up much time, but again, I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you every year to just to say how thankful we are for the support that you give us. It sometimes is a task in which it could be a little bit disheartening dealing with what we deal with veterans. But at the end of the day, we know that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and we are very appreciative for the services that we're able to provide. And we do it not because we feel it's a job, but because we feel it's a service in which we need to give back. And that's what we do every day, and we thank you all.
Ms. Little, let me thank you and your staff for being in the forefront of the leadership with regards to the new legislation that has come down the pipe. They said Dallas County is more prepared probably than any other county in the state. You're waiting on the state to catch up. And so thank you. That requires leadership, and we just thank you and your staff for being ready, and we're ready when the state finally gets ready. And okay.
Thank you, Ms. Little.
Thank you.
And thank you to all the veterans.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. And this will now take us to our bids.
No.
We have a presentation.
Got a presentation nationwide.
Oh, I beg your pardon. That's just, it got left off the script.
Right.
Treasurer Medrano, please come forward. Treasurer, I am Ron Burgundy from the Anchorman. If it's not on the piece of paper, I don't say it. So somebody wrote colonoscopy on the piece of paper there? That's what I said. Somebody didn't write Colonel, so that's not what I said. You're not on there, so I didn't say nothing. But I apologize. Please proceed.
Okay, staff.
Judge Jenkins, Commissioners, Mr. Martin, Directors, good morning. And thank you for the opportunity to let us come and share and make some people aware of the information about deferred comp. 10 months ago, I met Mr. John Hayes, retirement specialist for Nationwide. We had several meetings. As a matter of fact, we meet on a weekly basis. We share stories of how his grandpa Bill and my father Pancho grew up during the Depression, and how they urged us to save our money for that rainy day, or more importantly, for retirement. I have several questions for Mr. Hayes about how many Dallas County employees were participating or contributing to the plan, hence this presentation. Commissioner Cantrell, I believe in paying myself first. And Judge and Commissioners, I believe that Dallas County's best assets are the Dallas County employees. John?
Thank you. So for those of you that don't know me, again, my name is John Hayes, and I work to help the employees prepare for retirement here at Dallas County. And so one of the brief things that we want to do is create a larger awareness because of the fact that we do not have as high a participation as I think we could have. And so one of the things we're going to do briefly is run over how the plan helps the employees prepare. And then also, we want to take the time to be, especially me personally, to be available to the employees even more than we have before. And the way we do that is through your help as commissioners, as department heads. We presented to already with Mr. Martin and his staff. And so one of the things that we want to do is make sure that everybody knows and is on board in the same direction so that we can echo that retirement readiness and have more and more employees prepared for retirement. One of the stories that Pauline and I hear on a regular basis is how many employees we had recently come across that just said, I wish I would have known about this 10 years ago. And so that is the whole goal for us, is to increase enrollment and increase retirement readiness. If we can go to the next slide. One more, please. So currently, Dallas County, this number varies depending on who I talk to, but I know we're around 7,500 employees, sometimes up to 8,500 employees. And right now, 25% of the employees are contributing.
Closer to 6,000.
Yeah.
Okay. If we got some more out there, Ryan, I want to know where they are. Amen.
That's the number I've been given, so I apologize. 6,000. So that's a little higher than 25% then. 75% are not enrolled or contributing in the plan currently. The average amount that people put away is $22.51 annually, which equates to about $86 a check. The average balance is $23,811. And again, that's of those contributing. Next slide, please. Our goal over the next 3 months is we really want to drive enrollment up by about 10% or 750 people. It's a big task for us to do. But again, that's why we have continued to try to build relationships to have department heads, have people managers, basically be there to help us just be able to sit down and make that time with the employees so they understand how to pay themselves, how to put money away for the future. We're going to do this through educating all departments, group informational sessions, and one-on-one meetings, and then also through email and flyers promoting the plan. And again, with your help, just to continue to echo that message throughout the county so that the employees do prepare properly. Next slide, please. So why is there this need? Well, some people may not realize it, but on average, public sector employees, the pension provides 50% of current income after 25 years of service. Most industry professionals, they say that you need between 70 and 90%. Once we add in inflation and medical expenses, looking at roughly around 126%. The average TCDRS employee works for 17 years and has a little over $17,000 a year in retirement off their pension. And after 20 years in retirement, inflation can cut that purchasing power on the pension in half. 65% of households are at risk of not having enough to maintain their current living standards in retirement. So how can the deferred comp help the employees prepare? An example is an employee making $37,000 a year. Let's say that they're working long enough, they're going to receive 80% of their current income from pension and Social Security when they retire. They need to save roughly $105,000 of their own money to create or make up that extra 20%, which would roughly be about $7,440 a year or $620 a month in retirement. If that employee starts out at the beginning when they start working here, they'll only need to save roughly about $50 a paycheck or $38 of their net check. What this does for them is it allows that money to work for them. So roughly they will have $39,000 of that money is their own, and the rest of it is going to be interest. If they wait 20 years, they have to save roughly $112 a check, and they end up putting in roughly $58,000 of their own money. And if they wait till they have 10 years left, to reach that $105,000, they need to have roughly $300 per check that they'd be putting away, and it's $78,000 of their own money. So the whole point of this example is to say that it allows them to get in earlier, pay themselves earlier, and that's why we want to create this message and make it echo further. Again, how you can help is encourage employee participation, provide us the best ways to work with the county employees further than we have before. Contact information, locations for all people leaders to schedule meetings, and share ideas and best practices. In closing, Ms. Medrano.
Thank you. I'd also like to introduce my Chief Deputy, Tracy Hines, and he was responsible in coordinating a retirement seminar last April and about 2 weeks ago. And there was more people that said, if I would have known this 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I would have contributed. I think we would be a disservice of not encouraging folks to save as little as $10 a paycheck or as much as allowed, and to save as early as possible. That's the key. Mr. Brown, if you will, we want to thank Victor Stanley, Brett Taylor, Femi Agbula, and Nicole Clark for helping us do little vignettes of 3 employees. I want to thank LaVonda Hayes, our payroll supervisor, our constable, Roy Williams, and then Gilbert Aguilar, a superintendent of Road and Bridge in District 4. They provided some testimonials, and if you'll allow, we'll play at least one. I'll leave you with a quote from Albert Einstein. Those that understand compound interests will earn it. Those that don't will pay it. Mr. Brown?
Mr. Brown was shocked.
I have been working for Dallas County for about 2 years now. Prior to working for Dallas County, I was employed with the City of Dallas, where I retired after 34 years of service, and I retired as Director for the Department of Street Services. I got started in this program, in the deferred compensation program, back when I was 19 or 20 years, when the city introduced the program to its employees, and when one of my supervisors encouraged me to participate in the program. And I can tell you right now that it was one of the best decisions I made when I started participating in the program, and it was one of the best advices that I received from my supervisor. The amount contributed to the program was relatively low when I started with the program, but as I continued to grow and promote within the county, I continued to increase the contribution amount. Now I contribute a much larger amount than I started with the city. But again, it's something you decide how much you want to contribute based on your income, your ability to contribute. The main part is to continue to contribute on a steady basis and start as soon as you can. Well, this program will allow me to have a fund available for me to use for my retirement. It gives me an opportunity to retire at the same level of income, or maybe a higher level of income as what I'm earning now. And again, I will be able to use the funds to travel or to do the things that I want to do when I retire. I do want to encourage my fellow county employees, my subordinates, and my co-workers to participate in this program. Again, one of the best advices that I received when I started with the county was to enroll in this program. So I think it is part of my responsibility to encourage others to participate in this program. And I think those folks will be thanking me later for providing them this advice. So again, I want to encourage everyone to participate in this program. There are many, many, many benefits to this program, starting with the tax deferred option, the fact that you pay yourself first, and the fact that this money continues to grow year after year after year, so you have a nice nest egg when you do retire.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hayes, I have one question. What is the interest that you guarantee on the investment?
If they utilize the guaranteed investment option, it's 3.5% is the guaranteed minimum interest rate. So if you look at in comparison to bank rates, equivalent products, that currently is a very high rate on that type of product. So
Thank you so
thank
much.
you.
That was some mutual guarantees. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, for the presentation.
Thank you, Ms. Medrano.
And we'll now consider item J, our consent agenda. Is there a motion on the
So
consent?
move.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carries unanimously. We'll now consider our bids, item K, our bids. Is there a motion on the bid?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries unanimously.
Hold on, let me catch up with this. I made the motion. There you go. Now.
And we'll now consider item L, the court orders. Is there a motion on item L 1 through 34, pulling orders 10 and 11 to bring back potentially at a later date?
54
Oh, and, I'm sorry. and-
through 54, not 34.
Yes.
Did I say 30? I
Yeah.
meant 50.
Yeah.
You
1
said
through
30, it's
54.
54.
Oh, you say it. If
1
you
through
can-
54, excluding 10 and 11.
Right. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, who made the, somebody made the motion. to
No,
start.
we let you make.
You did.
Okay, got, and a second. On 4, Sheriff's Department, I know y'all have done some shifting since then. Go back and read your application, but on 4, you need to put the new captain's name with regards to that application. Roe is now in HR, so whoever your new captain is in traffic needs to go in that application. Okay? That's number 1. Thank you. I think with regards to, I think you answered my question on 12 in terms of the right classification with regards to that one. 13, Mr. Stretcher, you're okay, that 45 to 60 day, are we, with everything I've been reading lately, are we convinced that 45 to 60 days, I know we appreciate the fact that this grant is going to take people out of the jail, women.
It is women, yes, sir.
Women, 21 days earlier, but that 45 to 60 days, do we have any numbers with regards to what that does in terms of that whole treatment plan, in terms of success? Because lately I'm reading a lot of stuff that says something about 6 months, and I know this program doesn't even begin to broach that.
There's a lot of research that clearly shows those longer lengths of stay have good outcomes. The system just hadn't had the finances for that, so we felt like it was a good step to get up to that 45 to 60 minimum with everybody. I think the answer is it's not enough, but it's a step in the right direction.
I'd like to say, too, that the number of items that we discuss here that are problems to be addressed are very serious things, and that at least we've got 2 items here, number 13 and 14, which are really attempting to get our hands around by collecting the data, having the evidence that we are going to need to provide better services, and then to, on the SAMHSA grant, to really make some steps forward in this. So thanks for your initiative in writing the grants, and all of the staff and criminal justice in supporting that, and getting us in some of the better directions on this, and being in the forefront nationally on what's going on with keeping people doing better things with that transitional out of jail for our residents.
Well, the only thing I said on about 13, I didn't even begin to broach 14 with the mental health policy. I got that. My problem is that all the recent data does not, that 45 to 60 day, are we seeing, are they recidivating in that time frame? I mean, I didn't have any data with it, that's all. I don't have any data with it.
We have some data that went with the original grant application that I'll get to you.
Okay.
And it's going to show 60 is a lot better than the 14 to 21.
Okay.
But it will also show that a longer term
is better,
has better outcomes. But you have to balance out the resources that you have available, and we'd rather get more folks into the 60. And then, they'll also feed into some work we've done with outpatient aftercare that gives them longer times in that, so they'll be able to access that too. But I'll get you some of the basic information.
Plan.
Yes, sir,
You need to see
absolutely.
the plan. Number 9, want to thank you and the department in terms of, we've added a lot to this contract, and this contract in terms of management has really gone a long way with regards to Dallas County, not only with keeping us in compliance, but helping us manage the population.
They're a big tool in our arsenal as it relates to jail population, and they have become the experts on our data. I don't know if you see our monthly reports as part of our jail pop. I'll make sure we get that out. We've really beefed that up, so they're giving us some real good information, especially around folks coming in without any new charges. We're really starting to focus on that. It's about 15 or 20% of our bookends each month, and they're really helping us drill into that.
It's made all the difference in the world.
Made all the difference in the world. They're a really valuable resource for us.
We're still working, for what I understand, with some of the elements at the new medical location at the jail. So they are, helping us not only at the jail, but with the medical part of it as well. So.
Absolutely are. They're a very valuable resource for us.
14, thank you to the Carrot Foundation.
Yeah, we're pleased with that. And let's move it along.
That's right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Stretcher.
Thank you.
$150,000.
I would also like to make a comment as the youngest member, the newest member, not the youngest, the newest member on this court, that things that started when
You can be the youngest commissioner.
No, but I'm not. Is a problem. but as the newest member of this court, as I'm very often reminded, to make comment on the, that things that were started when I first came on board. For example, number 15, the agreements with member cities and looking at our communications, our computer linkages between our member cities, their police departments, and our jails, and working at that. And number 15 is those steps forward, so that yes, even though it seems like it moves incredibly slow sometimes, but that yes, we are moving forward on these things and having some very good results. So thank you, Mr. Victorum, for perseverance. It does, but what we're doing is implementing those steps forward. So thank you very much.
Call the question.
I've got one comment, just really a word of praise. I want to thank Commissioner Garcia and staff on 31 and 32 for switching some funding around to push a trail project that's ready to go and keep on track a project that will stay on track to be ready to go next year, which will open up more trail for the people around Irving and Grand Prairie on the Campion Trail. This will extend it to MacArthur, so great job on everyone's part on that.
Well, and I want to thank you, Judge. I want to thank, Mr. Losberg and his team, as well as the city of Grand Prairie and Dallas, because there's two trails that are moving forward on this, and we're just reallocating, accelerating some of the money. But both projects in Irving and Dallas will continue to move forward. Thank you, Mr. Losberg, to you and your staff.
Call the question.
Question has been called. Any further comments? Hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's carried unanimously. And next we will, our agenda calls for our discussion session, which consists of items to be considered and approved today. Mr. Martin, will you lead the discussion session for items M1 and M2, and note that we have speakers signed up for both?
There is no M2 unless my agenda is missing.
Your M2 is an addendum that was added last week. It was the appointment of County District Criminal District Attorney. We're asked that if we could take that to close first, and then we'll come back out and vote on that. It is listed as a closed agenda item also. So.
But there will be action.
There will be action
today after a discussion in closed session.
But you can't discuss it, so it's just M1's the only thing for discussion.
And M1 is on for discussion, which is approval of agreements between Dallas County and Corrections Corporation of America for certain premises and lease agreement. And Judge, you're right, there are a number of speakers on this item also.
Okay. Before we have public speakers, let's set out, or is it accurate in our book as to the addendums that have been signed by the parties?
Yes, yes. Just real briefly, there
Would you set those out so
there are
everyone
three
knows?
items.
Yeah.
One is the assignment and assumption of lease at 899 Stebbins Freeway in Dallas. The second one is assignment and assumption of lease at 1508 Langdon Drive, Dallas. And number 3 is approval of the lesser estoppel certificate. You do have an addendum that was released last Thursday, which modified one of the lease agreements, and Mr. Heichel and Mr. Roden will be able to walk you through those changes real briefly.
Yeah, if someone could walk us through before we hear from the speakers, so that the speakers understand what it is that is before the court, before we hear from them, since the agreements were, the last modifications were done late Friday. So whoever wants to walk us through and maybe just read them is fine.
Judge, the commission, as you recall from the last meeting, we wanted 4 amendments to the assignment and assumption of the lease at 1508 East Langdon Road. Those 4 amendments are reflected in Exhibit B, which is attached to the assignment and assumption lease. And those are as follows. 1, that the lease premises, the assignee shall ensure that transportation is provided for the residents of the Dallas Transitional Center, whether by the assignee, public transportation, or other methods. Number two, they will not.
Wait, stop,
Gordon, that's
stop,
not it.
stop. Okay, yeah, because I don't reckon.
That's, do we have the most recent?
Yes, we do,
Let them read the most recent one, and then we can hear from them and then have a public discussion. But I think it's important that the public know what it is that we.
Yeah, just let me.
Yes, the most recent Exhibit B is in regards to the leased premises. Assignee shall, one, ensure that transportation is provided at no cost to the residents of the Dallas Transitional Center, DTC, whether by assignee, public transportation, or other methods. Two, not enter into any agreement with the Texas Civil Commitment Office, TCCO, or any successor agency, and will not house any person under the jurisdiction of the TCCO or any successor agency. 3, hold another public hearing through the Texas Department of Criminal Justice or any successor agency and obtain the approval of the Dallas County Commissioner Court if an increase above 300 beds is sought. 4, use the facility exclusively for the social service use stated in Article 3.1 of the June 2014 lease to Decker Corrections, Inc., and shall be exclusively for individuals who were Dallas County residents at the time of their offenses.
Okay, tell me, Judge, what's new there that was not there other than the civil commitment piece that was not there before?
In our view, the prior lease agreement, and I want to make sure it's understood, this is just consenting to an assignment, and this is the assignment between the parties of the previously executed lease. But the initial lease, in our view, was limited to use for those individuals who were Dallas County residents at the time of their criminal offenses. That is stated again in this addendum with the term exclusively. It was our view that it was exclusive, but this is a clarification.
Okay, so it was exclusive, and you just put the word exclusive in there.
In our opinion, we viewed it as an exclusive provision, but it is added in there.
Okay.
The additional things that you asked about, as far as holding another hearing or coming back for seeking approval of 300 beds, that was not specifically in the prior agreement. And the Civil Commitment Office restriction was not in the prior lease agreement. Actually, the transportation issue is something that wasn't in there. However, that is part of the contract that the entity already has through its contract with the Texas Department of Corrections. So that's really something that's in their contract. They were just willing to restate it here, but that's not really something that was.
Well, it was always envisioned, because this is in the unincorporated area of Dallas County, and there is no transportation facilities available.
And to the extent that this contract will operate the same way as it previously did, these matters would have been incorporated in there with the exception of, I believe, the Civil Commitment Office restriction.
Right, exactly. Okay.
And the part that I understood in this amendment, for calling it somehow, also the expansion. You know, if there was any expansion of the facility, we'll have to come to the Commissioner's Court, Mr. Wright.
That is in the addendum, and this is the addendum to the assignment and assumption from Lifestyle to CCA of the lease of the property. That's what this is. This is not an operating agreement. It's merely an assignment of the lease from Lifestyle to CCA. The operational impact is obviously controlled by their contract with the Texas Department of Corrections. And so that is what that assignment and assumption of lease is. The other assignment and assumption of lease is just for the remaining period while they're still over at Decker, which is anticipated to conclude. And then there's the letter of estoppel certificate, just saying that they will be on the premises until they can get everything moved out to the new facility.
Okay.
All right, and staff, do you think that accurately lays out where we are at now? as far as the addendum and what's before the court. The 3 documents are great. All right, we've already heard the rules of decorum for our public speakers. And so our first speaker on the matter of CCA is Ms. Mary Warren.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning,
Please
everyone,
state your
and
name
thank you.
Address.
Mary Warren, 4312 McKinney Avenue, Dallas 75205. On Saturday, approximately 500 Dallas County residents attended the mass incarceration and the new Jim Crow Town Hall meeting at Light of the World Church of Christ. The history, statistics, values, problems, and solutions we discussed are directly tied to this decision you will make today. All these people who attended this town hall are counting on you to do the humane and moral thing. Deny Corrections Corporation of America any control or authority over our residents re-entering free society. The fact that this agreement requires your approval to be enforced points to the choice that you are empowered to make. The fact that CCA is yielding to the proposed concessions shows that they need you to approve this contract. You do have a choice. If you deny this agreement, none of the consequences could be as destructive to Dallas County as the treatment we can expect our fellow citizens to receive at CCA's hands. CCA has a horrible history of cruelty and of denying the incarcerated their basic human rights. Please do not act in our names in the manner that backward nations do. With a 40-year renewable contract, CCA would have no incentive to improve their service and to treat our neighbors humanely, knowing the Dallas County Commissioner's Court has no recourse. If you can't stand up to CCA today, why would any of us believe that you would do so after the contract is executed? Just yesterday, President Obama announced a new actions to promote rehabilitation and reintegration for the formerly incarcerated. Are you going to move forward in criminal justice with our presidents or slink backwards to the medieval paradigm of Governor Abbott? How can we claim that Dallas County acts with moral courage if we are in bed with Securus and Corrections Corporation of America? We are counting on you to act today in concert with your better angels. Deny Corrections Corporation of America any business with Dallas County. It's the only honorable action you can take on this matter. Thank you.
Our next public speaker is Miss Minister Dominique Alexander.
Minister Dominique Alexander, 2512 East Overton Road, Dallas, Texas, 75216. I am here today to speak about the decision that you guys are going to make today. This decision goes backward with the nation's administration. The nation's administration is trying to address criminal justice reform. This company has a history, long history. We don't have to sit here in this 2 and 42 minutes to talk about that history. If we allow this to come into the southern sector of Dallas, this will continuously create a pipeline that has always been in this community in Dallas County. I'm asking that in our namesake, in the voters' namesake, that you vote against this, allowing this company to come here in Dallas County once again. We have to stand for something, or we'll never stand for nothing. This CCA company, it's all there. You can look it up. You can look about this thing, and we're right here talking about doing business with them yet again. If any one of these little smaller companies would have came here today and had the same background that they had, we wouldn't even had this discussion. But now we're talking about CCA. We're talking about a company that snuck up around and bought a company out that we had an agreement with. And we're now coming here today to do business with them? No, we cannot allow this to happen. We cannot allow this to happen, and I ask that you vote against this and stand with our president as we address criminal justice reform in America, because it's really needed, especially in the African American community and the Hispanic community. Thank you.
And our next speaker is Mr. Anthony Bond. Mr. Anthony Bond. Mr. Anthony Bond. He's not here. And our next speaker is Ms. Margarita Garcia, and I believe this is the quick word before that is Ms. Garcia, if she does come. I'm sorry. And our next speaker is Ms. Margarita Garcia. Ms. Margarita Garcia.
There's two Garcias, and Adriana and
You may be on here too, Margarita. I don't. Let's see.
Lord Garcias.
That's probably you. I don't see.
Spring Valley Road.
Your address.
Where do you live?
3950 Spring Valley, or 9 Oak Ridge Drive.
Sí, pero ¿dónde vive? ¿Cuál es su dirección? ¿En dónde? ¿En Garland? Okay, no, you're not here then.
No, she's not on there.
There's one in Rolette, one in Farmers Branch, a Garcia in Farmers Branch, and a Garcia in Rolette.
Yeah, she's not on there.
She's
And
not
we're
on
already exceeding on her.
Oh, usted trabaja en la ciudad de Farmers Branch, en el 3950 Spring Valley? Sí. Okay. So
Okay, that's her.
Garcia, that's her.
Okay,
It's her
please
work
come forward.
address.
Please come
Por
forward.
favor, al micrófono. Lo puede bajar.
Muy buenos días.
Muy buenos días.
Mi nombre es Margarita Álvarez, señor juez.
Un momentito. It's my understanding that we do not have an interpreter and that she will speak in Spanish, which will make it difficult for me to keep our rules. So if anyone who speaks fluent Spanish hears a violation of the rules, please stop me and let me know what it was.
Okay.
Thank you.
No se vaya a salir del script,
Yeah.
señora García.
Oh, no, no, no.
Okay.
Please continue.
Puede empezar, va a tener el reloj ahí arriba que le va a dar los 3 minutos para que usted pueda hablar.
Buenos días, señor juez y comisionados. Mi nombre es Margarita Álvarez. Soy miembro de Texas Organization Project y una orgullosa madre inmigrante guatemalteca que ha sido residente de Garland durante muchos años. Hoy estoy aquí con TAP como constituyente del condado de Dallas, muy preocupada, que cree que el dinero de mis impuestos no debe de ir hacia el financiamiento de una empresa de cárceles con fines de lucro que ha sido acusada varias veces de abusar y maltratar a sus habitantes, en particular los que son nuestros hermanos y hermanas indocumentadas. Correction Corporation of America ya tiene una historia turbulenta en el condado de Dallas y en otras partes del país. ¿Por qué queremos seguir haciendo negocios con ellos? Uno no tiene que hacer mucha investigación en línea para encontrar que las cárceles y los esfuerzos políticos de CCA dañan gravemente la salud de las comunidades en las que hacen negocio. Esta empresa de cárceles con fines de lucro tiene un historial terrible de los derechos humanos y la verdad es que no se debe permitir hacer negocios en absoluto. Mientras hablo yo aquí hoy, hay 27 valientes mujeres inmigrantes indocumentadas detenidas en el centro de detención de Juro en la ciudad de Taylor que están en huelga de hambre para protestar por las condiciones horribles e injustas. Esto ciertamente no es la primera vez que CCA ha estado en el ojo público por abuso de sus habitantes y probablemente no será final de esto. CCA sigue demostrando un desprecio perverso de los derechos fundamentales y la dignidad de los seres humanos, y eso es algo que el condado de Dallas no debe de apoyar. La influencia creciente de empresas de cárceles como CCA es muy preocupante. Gracias, señor juez Jenkins y comisionados Price, por haber por hacer públicas sus preocupaciones con CCI, hacerse cargo de un centro de rehabilitación en nuestro condado. Ánimos a otros comisionados a hacer lo mismo. Gracias, buenos días.
Gracias, señora.
Our next speaker is Miss Sylvia Collings. Miss Sylvia Collings. Miss Sylvia Collings. All right. Our next speaker is Miss Adriana Garcia.
Not here?
Adriana Garcia, Miss Adriana Garcia. Our next speaker is Mrs. Asada Thomas. Mrs. Asada Thomas. Mrs. Asada Thomas. Our next speaker is Miss Hilda Toj. Miss Hilda, please come forward.
Buenos días. Buenos días, señor juez Jenkins y comisionados. Mi nombre es Hilda Toj, una líder comunitaria de la organización Proyecto de Texas y una madre inmigrante guatemalteca con 2 hijos que vive en Dallas. En un condado tan grande y tan diverso como el condado de Dallas, creo es un error, y una empresa de cárceles con fines de lucro que tiene una trayectoria tan terrible puede hacer negocio con nosotros. Estoy en solidaridad con las 27 mujeres indocumentadas en el centro de detención Haro que están en huelga de hambre ahorita para llamar la atención sobre las condiciones inhumanas en esta instalación CCA. Como latina con 2 niños pequeños, esta protesta en la instalación CCA es algo que me llega al alma. Me da miedo que llegue el día que me arranquen de mis hijos y mi familia. El récord de abuso desenfrenado de CCA debe desacreditar a la empresa y también la lógica de privatización de las cárceles. Desde la fundación de la empresa, CCA ha enfrentado acusaciones persistentes de abuso y alojo en condiciones severamente deficientes que ponen en peligro la salud y la seguridad de los presos. Aquí en el condado de Dallas tenemos valores muchos mejores que eso. Tenemos que demostrarlo. En sus instalaciones de inmigración y las instalaciones penales, CCA ha estado plagada por décadas con informes de condiciones inhumanas, supervisión inadecuada, atención médica deficiente, alta rotación entre los empleados, el abuso de los presos por los guardias, falta de control de la violencia en sus prisiones y muertes de los reclusos en sus instalaciones. ¿Por qué debemos dejar que se apoderen de nuestro centro de rehabilitación y pongan en peligro el bienestar de sus residentes? Una empresa con un historial manchado y la reputación como CCA no merece su expansión en nuestro condado. Las condiciones en las instalaciones de CCA han empeorado tanto que muchos de estos están cortando lazos con las compañías por completo. Además, es simplemente mal que en un centro de detención de inmigración CCA puede buscar designación como guardería para encarcelar a niños. Comisionado juez Jenkins, le insto a no permitir que CCA se expanda en el condado de Dallas. Somos mejores que esta empresa horrible. Gracias.
Our next speaker is Dr. Irvin Seamster. Dr. Irvin Seamster, Dr. Irvin Seamster.
Good morning. My name is Irvin D. Seamster Jr. I live at 2133 Grandview Court in Cedar Hill, Texas, 75104. This morning, I have 5 things I'd like to rehearse into your hearing and ask that you please give it, if possible, every consideration. I have 5 concerns. My first concern is that what we are doing seems like implied consent, meaning that in this legal contractual agreement for 300 beds are implications for many more beds, which forces the county into a long-term commitment with one institution who is guaranteed to profit from the county's most vulnerable. Number two, I am troubled that the community this housing will create becomes a concentrated area in the county that cannot legally protect or govern itself as a voting, self-interested body, and so therefore will be subject to abuse and profit-driven institutions and businesses, which will not be incentivized to care for the folk in its neighborhood. Essentially, food costs, health care costs, and the cost of living will make this a waste of resources. Third, my spirit is troubled by the intent of a correctional institution who has not demonstrated a real interest in rehabilitation inside of the prison, now to trust it with rehabilitation outside of the prison, where the burden will now lie. I'm also suspicious that these services were not, at least as I understand them, not made clear and required in the contract. The contract itself seems little more than a profit-making enterprise, a revenue source for CCA and its investors. Number four, if Avalon has been in business since 1985, where is the data implying a reduction in recidivism, the ultimate test in whether or not a halfway house is successful? And furthermore, it is not altogether clear to me who will have oversight of these halfway houses. There are enough studies to show that drug use, escapees, gang violence, sexual assaults, and poor management and training of workers contribute to the public safety mess that these houses often become. To enter into...
Dr. Seifert, finish your sentence, please, because you're out of time.
I'm out of time?
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you very much, Harry.
Our final speaker on this topic, the public speaker on this topic today will be Ms. Linda Cook.
Good morning. My name is Linda Cook. I live at 4029 Lively Lane in Dallas, 75220. I'm here to comment on the pending lease assignment from Avalon to the Corrections Corporation of America for 10 acres of land on Langdon Road. First, I want to commend the county commissioners for responding to citizens' concerns about CCA's troubling for-profit business model and history of abuse, and for taking a look at ways to restrict the use of the vacant land beyond the existing facility. In reviewing the Exhibit B to the lease assignment, it is a relief for me to see restrictions prohibiting the housing of violent sex offenders, as well as restrictions limiting the facility's use to the social services use stated in the original lease, and for housing only offenders who are Dallas County residents. An additional requirement calls for a public hearing and approval by the Dallas County Commissioners Court to increase the occupancy to more than 300 beds. These are good and necessary steps to eliminate the potential for a greatly expanded private facility without oversight on county-owned land. I'm encouraged to see that the county feels that their authority allows them to add such provisions to the terms of the lease. However, this leads me to question why they cannot also restrict the automatic renewal of the 40-year lease, which extends it for an additional term of 40 years. If the county can call for a public hearing to expand the number of beds, why can they not also call for a corporate review prior to renewal of the lease for an added 40 years? I expect county commissioners to negotiate contracts that have fail-safes to protect citizens' interests and ensure public safety. The presence of concerned citizens here today over the predicament that the county commissioners find themselves in proves that this is not the case. We should not be placed in a position of having to accept the services of a predatory company like Corrections Corporation of America. Future contracts should be written with contingencies that avoid such a circumstance. I believe 80 years is far too long for a lease with no recourse or review, even when it isn't with a company that incarcerates people for profit. That is longer than the average lifespan of a U.S. citizen, which is 78.84 years. My mother died at the age of 80. She was born before the historic stock market crash of 1929. She grew up during the Depression, was helped by President Roosevelt's New Deal. Her brother fought at Omaha Beach. She saw the dawn of the atomic age and the devastation of the Holocaust. She was 24 when Queen Elizabeth was crowned in 1953. She served as a volunteer helping survivors of Hurricane Katrina. In all, she lived through the terms of 14 U.S. presidents. This is a very long time to commit to a lease. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our public speakers on this topic. Are there comments from commissioners?
There are. You know, do what?
What happens if we don't sign this?
You're asking a legal question?
Yes.
Okay. Judge, Roden, what happens if we would fail to sign this?
Well, I would first advise the Commissioners Court that asking me for legal advice on the potential legal ramifications of
And you've already
signing
given
or
us,
not signing.
you've given us that advice.
I have,
Okay.
but that should be something that should be, I would recommend be given in executive session.
But
the way
you've
we do it.
already given us that advice.
Yes, I have.
Okay. Let me make it like we need to do it rhetorically for edification. You've given us that advice, what our position is. I guess what's interesting to me is that, first of all, they keep talking about the county has interceded on behalf of the state of Texas. These are there's nothing today that has been presented with regards to us appendicing this deed that was not already there except for the hearing, which is already called for in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, as we did when we originally set this agreement up with Avalon. It was the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. We did publications like the law required. We had a hearing like the law required. We did everything with Avalon. And the only thing that is attached here is CCA. The issue here is, it's interesting, and I said to Dr. Seamster, and I was there on Saturday at that hearing, but it's interesting. These are about individuals who do not have a housing plan that is exiting the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. It is required that they have a housing plan prior to release. According to the regional supervisor, the release plan is submitted by a client to the institutional parole officer. The plan is forwarded to the district office that will have supervision in the area for which the plan is proposed. The plan is assigned to the district office for them to be able to validate it and to investigate it. Should the plan not hold out and conflict, then the individual is detained in the Texas Department of Correction until such time that they can present a housing plan. If there are no conflicts with the conditions or the sponsor agrees that the client can reside on the proposed address, then the plan is approved. If no resident can be approved by the client, then the halfway house is the only safety net that is here. Alternative housing has become a real challenge with regards to residential plans. As I said on Saturday, I said 2 weeks ago, Senator Whitmire says that in Dallas County, they are returning every month 500 individuals to Dallas County, a total 6,000 a year. If they all got a housing plan, then whether it's Avalon or CCA, transitional housing will not be needed. But as I told Dr. Sims, it's interesting to me. These individuals who are returning can't even get housing in public housing. Public housing does not allow individuals with some of their to get housing. So where do they go? They don't have a housing plan. Public housing has some restrictions. And you know what happens in the private sector. So again, I just find this interesting. Let me just kind of conclude. In a highly heralded recent article that appeared in the Atlantic magazine, Ta-Nehisi Coates makes a brilliant opening statement. He says, entitled Monahan, Mass Incarceration and Responsibility, he said, and I quote, "Good intentions and deep sympathies cannot counter corrosive doctrines and destructive policies." This, as I said Saturday, this is the state. Dallas County has entered because these are our citizens who are returning. Everything that Judge Roden said this morning was already in the lease. Must have committed the offense in Dallas County, at the time of their incarceration, already there. The only reason we're here discussing this today is because of CCA. And as we continue to languish in this discussion that we've had since the last meeting, it would be helpful for us to talk about Coates' words. Protesting against CCA for their past wrongdoings is always appropriate, but we have to stay sober and strong as we envelop to engage the new national policies concerning mass incarceration. The very unlikely collaboration between Senator Patrick Leahy and John Cornyn should be enough to cause all of us some pause and reflect. That bill that has been co-sponsored and brought to the floor of Congress involves the scaling back of a mandatory minimum sentence that's the marked difference from which we've seen over the last 20 years. Former President Bill Clinton is heralded as one of the most artful communicators and politicians of our time. But this so-called liberal Democrat set the framework for the unruly rates of mass incarceration that we've seen in the United States. Texas has the largest prison population in the free world. The massive national movement against mass incarceration in all has resulted in 6,000 prisoners, and we heard this Saturday, being released in the coming months from just the U.S. prison. But the question now becomes is what do we do with them? How do we reprogram those indoctrinated inmates so that the recidivism rates don't increase? And by the way, the conjecture already is that it'll be 48% recidivism. How do we regenerate a sector of our citizenship that was already undereducated, underskilled in a manner that makes them unviable for jobs and life on the outside? Even though I am no fan of CCA and their representatives are here today, the pure and simple truth is that the same capitalistic system that created their value in housing inmates will also drive them to deal with them on rehabilitation. When it's all said and done, and you heard this Saturday, the 6,000 inmates that they're getting ready to release, they should have released them 1 year ago. But they did not release them because the system was not ready to accept them. With all that said and done, it's America and the bottom line. We can argue back and forth until the cows come home, but the truth is that the particular marriage has been sanctioned previously, and we are long past any attempts to do any annulment. As I say all the time, there are no permanent friends and there are no permanent enemies, just permanent issues. Matters of public safety and needed correction in our judicial system have always been an issue for some of us. Over the past 20 years, we focused on the failings of our society, which are basically poverty, homelessness, and poor public schools. In fact, the demise of those institutions has added to the so-called school-to-prison pipeline. As someone who knows a bit about building roads and bridges, I will contend that the pipeline that took so many into prison must now be retrofitted to get them out. We have to be dedicated and commit ourselves to a level of care and oversight that will equip former inmates to survive and find success on this side of the bar. CCA has been responsible to carry out all of these so-called good intentions. We now have the responsibility to demand corrective policy. Again, this is the state of Texas. Dallas County has interceded only because that's our citizens and our responsibility. And I believe that the fact that they have somehow agreed to the agreement, they didn't have any choice. We had already built it into the equation, and all they have done is acquiesced in terms of the acquisition. So, Judge, that's pretty much my conclusion.
Anyone else? Comments? Yes, ma'am.
A group of my constituents who I consider to be friends and have been friends for many, many years have been involved in progressive prison reform for many years. They're very concerned about the safety and treatment of residents, including situations dealing with the treatment of probationers, the ratio of staff to probationers, discipline, access to medical care, et cetera, et cetera. Understanding that what we're talking about today is not a prison, and that we are talking about where the state has primary responsibility and oversight. But after reading through the lease, it appears that the issues of their concern and the concern of all of us sitting here and all of us sitting in the audience are being addressed. Specifically, those sections are Article 3.1, the social services use, where what is being offered by Avalon at the time. Section 3.4 is inspections of maintaining what is our level of, what is our standard of service. Article 6.2, which is construction and alteration. And Article 6.4, which is maintenance and services. So this already signals to me that we are watching very, very, very closely Dallas County residents, what they are receiving, the services, very specifically, what are those services that we and Avalon are expecting them to receive. I spend a lot of my time as an individual commissioner looking for housing solutions, for one thing. The people, the probationers we are talking about, are those that do not have a housing plan. What are we doing to assist them? So that is one of the items of what is Dallas County in as a larger community doing. And looking at very specifically what are the services that are needed by those individuals. So at this time, I would say that yes, there is scrutiny. There will continue to be scrutiny because everyone at this table feels very, very strongly. Everyone sitting here feels very, very strongly about the protection of our people, of residents of Dallas County. And from what I can see in the lease, in the existing lease, what I can see as an agreement of the agreement that we have with Avalon, and then another agreement that we had absolutely no say in, but to hold CCA to the existing agreement that we do have with Avalon.
Well, first of all, let me start by saying that thank you to everybody that came today to speak. I guess it speaks well from the process and the system. Transparency in motion. For all of those that were wondering, if this new system will work, I guess the answer is it is working. So thank you all for being here. I also want to thank all the people that sent emails all over the country, even when it was the same email. It's good to know that there's people engaged when it comes to, public service and, of course, constituency voice. I think that we just hear the numbers and the facts, okay? The problem that we need to continue to discuss is mass incarceration in this country. That is the issue, because the reality, we all know, what the problem becomes, but we're not solving the problem. Unless you close that faucet, we will never stop mopping. So I just want to say and thank also staff, Mr. Martin, Mr. Heichel, Mr. Roden, the district attorney's office, for their hard work. When we realized, that Avalon was selling to CCA, I guess I can speak for everybody here. We were surprised, shocked, and I don't think anyone in this horseshoe feels good about some of the practices and some of the history of this company. As a minority and as a Latino, trust me, I feel for what is being said today. Ms. Alvarez, Ms. Garcia, you're right, the record is not very good. No tienen un muy buen repertorio en esta compañía. But with that being said, as a commissioner, I have to look into what are my agreements, my legal agreements, and more importantly, the Commissioner's Court is an extension of the state government. I like it or not, and most of the time I don't, okay? We respond to the Texas Department of Correctional Services. This is a reentry program. 500 people are released every month. And like Commissioner Daniels just mentioned, okay, guys, what is the solution? Where do I send them? With what services I can provide? We also, and we haven't talked into mental issues, but I see some of the representatives here of the mental community. We have a problem. Okay, and it all starts with mass incarceration. But with that being said, unfortunately, the contract that CCA has for reentry services in Dallas County is not through Dallas County. It's a contract with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. CCA acquired this contract when they purchased Avalon, that currently has a contract with TDCJ. So, yes, it's a hard decision. It's a very difficult position as an individual, as a minority, as a woman, and as a council commissioner to make a decision. But hey, leadership is not for cowards. You either do the right decision and you are committed to some contracts. So, and it's because of those legal restraints and quite frankly, the recognition that the need of services is there, that the number of parolees is not going to decrease. Some of the studies that we just reviewed in CJAB last month, 48% recidivism. Yes, we need to work together and we need to change a lot of things. But let me tell you what we could do, what has come out very well of this discussion, from this transparent discussion, is that we can hold some of these companies, and they will be held responsible for many of the issues that were addressed in those emails and that were said by some of the speakers. As we mentioned, some of them were already in the contract, but transportation will be provided. Civil commitment is there, hold public hearings in the case of increase of the number of beds. And of course, the usage of this facility exclusively for Dallas County Carolines. It's already there, but it's being brought back, and CCA is very aware of that. So, I do have to say that humane treatment is extremely important for all of us, and we will monitor this facility, and we will hold you accountable. Thank you.
I want to thank the community for their involvement in this. Their involvement in this has led to a much different outcome than without their involvement. This matter was set to be on our agenda in the section without discussion, to be passed without discussion and without any public briefing 2 weeks ago. Members of the community saw that and began contacting Commissioners Court and contacted members of the media. And as a result of that, I've requested this item be pulled from the court's agenda. The initial contract was negotiated with a social service use in it that left out the word exclusive and opened up two interpretations. One that the only people that could be housed on the premises were people who had lived in Dallas County at the time that their offenses were committed, or another that as long as that social service was done, the person that held the assignment was able to use the 10 acres and grow, and it specifically said in the contract that if they decided to make improvements on the premises or build on the premises, that they had to follow the law of the state of Texas and did not have to come back before this court. But because of the community involvement, we have these important addendums. The reason the addendums are there is not to restate things that are already in the contract. These are things that were, one was ambiguous in the contract, and the rest were not in the contract. And I am appreciative of the community for stepping forward to make that happen. I am appreciative of the dialogue that we had on Friday with CCA and with Avalon, and with their willingness to include this addendum in the contract. I am concerned, and I expressed this in the meeting on Friday, with the fact that CCA has been in the business of buying these sorts of institutions for the last 2 years. It seems clear to me that, as the speaker said today, I think the word the speaker used was CCA snuck around and bought this. And what I would say is that at the time that this contract was negotiated, it was clear, and this was discussed and admitted on Friday, that CCA was in discussions, or at least had approached Avalon with the desire to buy Avalon's business. This was known to CCA, known to Avalon, but not known to Dallas County. And the contract that was negotiated originally was negotiated in such a way that it left a lot of room for ambiguity in the favor and just outright favoritism in the favor of CCA. And some of that, as much as we could address, has been addressed, and largely because of the input of the community. I am concerned and with the fact that the bargaining positions here at the time this agreement was reached, we were dealing with a small company that had taken over the business of way back and had 125 souls in their facility, which was a 225-bed facility. I would far prefer if, rather than going through a stalking horse, Corrections Corporation of America would straight up ask Dallas County if we wanted to do business with Corrections Corporation of America. I can't help but think that our experience at the Dawson State Jail and its recent decommissioning by the state of Texas, a facility that was run by CCA, is part of the reason that CCA went this circuitous route. But having said that, I am appreciative of everyone who worked on the addendums, and particularly, and let me recognize Josh Graven, Tommy Alsop, Brian Costello, and their attorneys that are here today, and also Mr. Alex Frieden, who joined us via phone for that meeting.
Really.
With all due
It's just
respect,
misinformation. I tell you.
all due respect,
Yeah, just misinformation.
when everyone at this table became aware that a company of the known reputation of CCA had bought the parent company of Avalon, which we do have a lease agreement with, that is addressing particular needs of probationers who do not have a housing plan when they return to Dallas County.
Parolees.
Each one at this table was aghast, and I would venture that not only us here, but a number of the people sitting at that first row of tables were immediately saying, what can we do? How can we ensure? How can we increase the scrutiny? What tools do we have? What recourse do we have to do this? I certainly do appreciate the support of the larger community, as I've already said, the number of people, the number of constituents who I've worked with for a number of years, looking at progressive prison reform so that, yes, in fact, we can attempt to do a better job. But to say that we were not all in this together addressing the needs of Dallas County is a falsehood.
And the other part of that is that Avalon, CCA, we're talking about 300 beds in Dallas County. They've purchased all of Avalon. We were the last installation to come on board. All the rest of the contracts have been signed, state of Texas. Texas and Oklahoma. We're it. And the only reason we're here holding is because we, instead of when Decker was sold, saying, you know, hey, that's the state, let them fend for themselves. We interceded, got a brand new facility, hopefully to be relocating in within the next 30 days, safe, sanitary, and all of this about the addendum. Transit was negotiated at the first. None of this is new. They manage 1,400 people every day throughout the state of Texas. Not 125 or 300 in Dallas County, 1,400 every day, and they've all signed the contract. As I said 2 weeks ago, we can't say who gets a chance to acquire what. And Mr. Hamilton, thank you for tightening. We tightened this lease up when it was Avalon. So we didn't wait, we didn't wait for all of a sudden you send CCA. We tightened this up when this was Avalon.
Is disingenuous to say, Judge, with all due respect as well, that you weren't part of these discussions, because you were already elected part of these discussions with all of us here at this table.
No, and I'm glad you bring that up.
Yes.
I want to be very, very clear. I'm not saying that the people at this table entered into some conspiracy. What I'm saying is that there were clearly discussions between Avalon and CCA before the contract that was drafted by their team and signed by our team was entered into in June, and that contract was a bad contract to have Dallas County have with CCA, and but for the intercession of the community in bringing that to the court's attention, we would have that bad contract passed.
That's not true.
Commissioner Cantrell, you were going to say something?
No, I'm going to move M1.
I'll second it.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And I abstain.
I'm shocked.
Motion carries
Surprise.
4 with an abstention.
I'm shocked.
And this takes us to M2.
M2 is closed session.
And M2 is in closed session. And I think we probably can quickly dispense of just M2 in closed session, come back out and vote on that, and then continue on, And so we are going to adjourn to closed session momentarily to discuss M2 only, and then we will take action on M2. The remainder of our closed session and our public speakers will take place after that time.
Freeze. Freeze.
All right, the court is back in session. We have a motion before us. I'm sorry, no, we don't. We don't. I beg your pardon. We have an order to consider, and I'm going to read that order into the record. I'm going to read, or I'm going to not read, but I'm going to tell the public in open court how we got to this point, and then we'll hear from speakers. I have one speaker that's clearly on this, and I have two that I'm not positive what they're on, so if you're on this, then I'll have you come forward. But this is the appointment of a county criminal, this is the appointment of county district criminal district attorney. And essentially what the order will read, if it's approved by the court, be it resolved and ordered that the Dallas County Commissioners Court does hereby appoint Patrick Wilson of Ellis County as county district criminal attorney to represent the interests of the state in the removal action. Should the trial court judge that has jurisdiction over said removal action determine that the appointed aforementioned attorney is disqualified for any legal reason, then the Dallas County Commissioners Court appoints in this order the first criminal district attorney who has no legal impediment as the attorney to represent the state in this removal action. A, Paul Johnson, of Denton County. B, Sharon Wilson of Tarrant County. And that is the conclusion of that document. Now, let me briefly inform the public how we got here. A removal action was filed by a citizen of Dallas County. That case was assigned to a district court judge in Dallas. That judge recused themselves. The case then went to the Mary Murphy, who is the administrative judge for Dallas County. She recused herself. That case then went to Nathan Heck, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, who appointed the Honorable David Peoples to oversee that case. Judge Peoples contacted me last week and sent me a formal written request, or sent me a written request, which was forwarded on to the rest of the to staff and to the rest of the court on Friday, seeking the appointment of an attorney from an adjoining county. Friday evening, the parties, I am told by Judge Peoples in a conversation Friday evening, wherein he called me Friday evening, that the parties agreed to the order in which they believed that the attorneys should be called to serve. It is the statute clearly states that a county attorney is the appropriate, a county attorney from an adjoining county shall be appointed, and the only county attorney from an adjoining county is from Ellis County. The rest of the adjoining counties have criminal district attorneys. However, the parties agree that they won't complain if for some reason Mr. Wilson, who's the county attorney in Ellis County, is unable to serve, if the judge goes in the order of the criminal district attorney from Denton County, and assuming he is unable to serve, the criminal district attorney from Tarrant County. There are the other blanks in the order are left blank because the parties did not agree on the order of others, and we believe it is prudent, given the unclarity of the law in appointing a criminal district attorney, that we give weight to the agreements and waiver of appeal points from the parties if the court ends up, if Judge Peoples ends up for any reason finding that Mr. Wilson of Ellis County is unable to perform the duties. And so that is the order that is before this court, and we have and Darrell...
Judge, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Because you didn't get quite there.
Okay,
what we discussed. You're telling this court that the notification you received from Judge Peoples was based on an agreement by the two parties, attorneys.
Well,
is that correct?
The first notification that I received from Judge Peoples did not.
No, I understand.
Eventually, Friday evening, I was told by Judge Peoples, by Judge David Peoples, in a phone conversation, that there had been a meeting or a phone call, I'm not clear which, between the parties and Judge Peoples, and that this order of appointment was agreed to by attorneys for both Ms. Stormer, who is, my understanding is the complaining movement, and Ms. Hawk, the district attorney.
They agree. So what, for purposes of the record, what you're telling this court is that that agreement was Patrick Wilson from Ellis County first, then Paul Johnson from Denton County, then Sharon Wilson from Tarrant County.
That is correct.
That was the agreement that was relayed to you.
Yes, sir.
That preceded you asking for this order to be.
That is correct.
Correct. Okay.
Now do we have it all?
We have it all.
Okay. All right. So that being the case, we have at least one speaker, and the rules are still in effect, Mr. James Francis.
No, you got two.
Well, Mr. James Francis, Mr. James Francis. And we may have other speakers. Is there another? I don't want to embarrass.
Oh, Sherry Cusimano, and that's one I gave you there.
Okay.
Yeah, Mary Messenger.
And Sherry Cusimano. Jane Metzger and Sherry Cusimano.
That's it.
Let me just make sure this is about the DA.
It is.
It is.
Well, they're saying it is.
Oh,
They may not have
okay,
listed it, but
okay,
they're saying
all
that
right,
it is.
all right. Will Miss Janie Metzinger please come forward? Hey, Janie.
I knew I had seen you, Jane.
Yes, I was hiding behind the podium. You couldn't see me. Good morning, Commissioners.
Janie, give your name and address for the record, please.
Yes, sir. I'm Janie Metzinger. I'm the Public Policy Director for Mental Health America of Greater Dallas. It's 624 North Good Latimer in Dallas 75204.
Thank you. Proceed.
Thank you. Thank you all for the support that each one of you has given to programs that support recovery for people with mental illness. Each one of you is a leader for mental health. I'm speaking today not only to you, but to the citizens of Dallas County about people with mental illness and recovery. I'm particularly concerned about commentary in the media and on blogs that implies that individuals diagnosed with a mental illness are unemployable, incapable of performing job tasks, and that they should not be given adequate time for retreatment and recovery as we would with any other illness. Individuals of every race, income, gender, religion, and political persuasion have mental illnesses. 1 in 17 Americans have mental illnesses, but only about 65 to 85% ever seek help, often due to fear of rejection by family and friends, of negative repercussions in the workplace, of discrimination from insurance companies, and fear of ridicule. If I had only one request to make of the citizens of Dallas today, it might be, please stop using words like crazy, psycho, wacko, nuts to describe people, human beings who have a mental illness. These are mean, unkind words which make it so much harder for people to seek help. Please just stop it. It can take a person a long time, as we have seen in many families and friends, to recognize the symptoms of mental illness and to seek help. And it can take a long time to recognize the best treatment regimen or for medications to take effect. But there are many effective treatments for depression and other mental illnesses, and people with mental illnesses can return to productive, accomplished lives, as evidenced by some of our national leaders who have had depression. Among them, Presidents John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, John Quincy Adams, Franklin Pierce, Abraham Lincoln, Theodore Roosevelt, Dwight Eisenhower, First Lady Barbara Bush, Tipper Gore, Senator Thomas Eagleton, Governor Lawton Childs, Governor Mark Dayton, Congresswoman Lynn Rivers, Congressman Patrick Kennedy, Congressman Jim Ramstad, and State Representative from Texas, Garnet Coleman. Our mission is community education and advocacy, and if anyone has questions about mental illness, please call on us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Janie.
And our
Sherry Cusimano.
final speaker on this issue is Sherry Cusimano.
Thank you very much. My name is Sherry Cusimano. I am the president of NAMI Dallas at 2812 Swiss Avenue in Dallas, Texas, 75204. I'm here to make a statement about mental illness and recovery as the current president of NAMI Dallas. I know that mental illnesses are brain disorders and that they often carry a great deal of stigma in society. I know this both in my personal life and in a professional sense as well. Nobody should ever lose a job just for having a diagnosis of mental illness or for seeking treatment for mental illness. I am a person who carries the same diagnoses as Susan Hawk. I am in long-term recovery from both major depression and from a substance use disorder. I am also a registered nurse, a licensed chemical dependency counselor, and have a master's degree in healthcare management. I am the executive director of community education at Green Oaks Hospital and have been working there for 20-plus years. I am also, as stated earlier, the president of NAMI Dallas, which is a local affiliate of NAMI Texas, and of the National Alliance on Mental Illness, which is the largest nonprofit organization in the world meeting the needs of people with mental illness, their needs for education, advocacy, and support, and the needs of family members as well. My personal experience is that I am more competent in recovery than I was prior to recovery in any endeavor in which I choose to engage. It is also my professional experience as I watch others who have been diagnosed with a behavioral health disorder. I've seen that as they engage in a long-term journey to recovery, that they become more competent at whatever they choose to do. And I believe that people can and often do achieve recovery when given appropriate care. Recovery is not only possible, it is likely in circumstances such as that. I urge you to consider the impact that this issue could have on people who are currently living with mental illnesses, who have not yet sought treatment but are considering getting help. As they watch this unfold, will they see an example of how treatment can be used against them? Will they see an example of how being honest about your illness and seeking treatment and embracing an ongoing recovery plan can improve a person's life? Or will they see the details of that experience being dug up and used against them? I know that you have many issues before you that you consider in this situation, but in whatever steps that you have to take as a body, I hope that you will consider and think about these facts, how stigma impacts others. At a local nonprofit gathering that NAMI had a couple of weeks ago, a mom sat and talked to me about bringing her son back from the Northwest. He'd been in treatment for 18 months, and she said, "I'm scared for him to come to Dallas because of the headlines. I'm really afraid." Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Any comments regarding this before we vote?
Nothing other than the fact that this is a requirement of us in terms of due diligence, and so it has no commentary with regards to the issue for which the speakers have spoken.
All right.
Yeah, call the question.
All right, the question's been called. Any further comments? Hearing none. All is in favor,
See, get a motion.
Oh,
Yeah, I thought you moved
I'm
it.
sorry.
I didn't move it.
So moved.
Oh, I didn't move it.
All right,
Okay.
I apologize.
Okay.
Someone,
I'm sorry.
is there a motion to,
Okay, 1 second.
all right,
1 second. Got it,
I thought you moved it too.
got it. Okay, sorry.
Question's been,
Okay.
I'll call the question. Any further comments? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? All right, motion carries unanimously. All right, now, we still got a little bit of work, a little bit of business to do.
Sure.
Commissioner Price, do you guys make a presentation?
No.
Okay. And we have items N and O, miscellaneous and information. Any questions on those? Hearing none. We have some registered speakers that were on other matters. The rules are still in effect, and the first of those speakers is Ms. Dolores Phillips. Ms. Phillips, will you please come forward?
Ms. Dolores Phillips, address 2385 Sweetwater Apartment, 223 Grand Prairie, Texas, 75050. I need you to know I do appreciate you allowing me to speak. Honorable Jenkins and other commissioners, every document that you've ever received has also been filed with the City Secretary's Office of Dallas. On last month, when I was preparing the letter for your court, Honorable Jenkins, at University of Texas at Arlington, I'm a student there taking a course, African American Studies. AKA criminal justice. They erased my entire commissioner's folder off my flash drive. It also happened at DCCCD for Blackboard, UNT Dallas for their Blackboard. They also sabotaged my education internally, also at this present school. It's not coincidental. What I do want to say is that I don't understand how anyone, any political officials or representatives are indicted here locally, less known in the state of Texas, for any crimes, even if they are guilty of it from 2007 until now, because the criminal conspiracy that has sabotaged my education, blacklisted me incorporately, involves innocent bloodshed. And I've informed the FBI that when UTA erased my file folder from my flash drive at UTA, I call FBI Dallas, it's recorded. I call FBI Washington, it's recorded. I call FBI headquarters, it's recorded. Whatever was massively unleashed here that tries to force me to open up, I don't appreciate the fact of simultaneously covering up the worst corruption ever documented in Dallas in recent times. When I alleged that I was being battled by the same minds, the same mentalities, traditions, and customs that slaughtered Honorable John F. Kennedy, some looked at me as though I had lost my mind. I stand before you to say that is the truth. The documents that I pass out to you, I want you to read. Green Oaks, when I went to Green Oaks to resolve the ongoing corruption that was never rightfully, duly, lawfully reprimanded, now has the Dallas Police Department rebuilding, and you have great officers that's left and will be leaving. That's because when a minority speaks of injustices, it just blows in the wind, because for whatever reason, white supremacy and Jim Crow South believes that we were born to endure injustices in silence. And I need you to know I'm not afraid to live, and I'm not afraid to transition. I'm gonna speak to you every time. And as far as y'all talking about diabetes, why don't y'all write as much as y'all can to the United States Department of Health and tell them to quit allowing their great scientists to methodically concoct these different diseases, lupus, Ebola, HIV, cancers, diabetes, to automatically, systematically annihilate minorities, which is now.
You're out of time. Thank you.
One more thing, Honorable Jenkins. Everything that they've done to the minorities is now within the community of the non-minorities. That's why it's all in an outrage now.
Out of time, I'm sorry. All right, is Ms. Cynthia Smith, please. Ms. Cynthia Smith, Ms. Cynthia Smith. All right. Our next public speaker is Mr. Robert Ciccarelli.
Good afternoon, everybody. Robert Ciccarelli. I'm here because of I'm sure everybody heard about my publicized crack addiction in Dallas Morning News. I'm still suffering from very badly. My problem right now is trying to find, when I go to work, I get a check, there's a crack house across the street, and I use. I cannot resist the temptation. I have wondering if anybody here can very seriously help me control my temptations to be a payee or a strict money manager of my checking account, my work checks. I am trying to get MetroCare, who is my mental health provider, to help with this and to move me from my housing, but I haven't any luck with the CEO. I've had MetroCare in Green Oaks talk about any payees. I've never had any luck. I am proposing to pay a fee if someone can help me, meet me to pick up my check, and I get $10, and the rest of it would go to an account and made to the payee. I would come to get like $10 every other day and make receipts out for that way I get any money back for the money that I spent already. I am very desperate right now on this. This might be a way of treating addiction with the payee for parole and probationary people, okay? I very seriously that you consider this, because I go to IOP at Turtle Creek Manor, And there are a lot of problems there with dual diagnosis with addiction, crack addiction, meth addiction, and heroin addiction. And I really want to know if anyone can step up to the plate to help me and other people with this addiction. With money is a big trigger, a very, very big trigger. And I just want to reiterate, I hate this completely. I want to get rid of it. I want to move on my life, but I'm not having any luck trying to get in touch with MetroCare. The CEO does not even have an email address. I was here when the CEO got an award. Mr. Jenkins, I would hope you're able to get in touch with him so I can get an appointment with him. Because right now, I think the MetroCare CEO and the clients are separated. Since he doesn't have an email address, no clients can get in touch with him at all. I'm very concerned about that. But I hope you, Mr. Jenkins, can get in touch with him. But anybody here from law enforcement that knows anybody that can help me very, very strictly, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Okay. Jay, see if somebody can help on that, please. Yeah, I think his number's in there, but make sure we have his contact and see if somebody can help him. All right, Mr. William Hopkins. I don't see him here, so I'm going to say your name 2 more times. Mr. William Hopkins. Mr. William Hopkins. Our final speaker today is Ms. Susie Bell Gosley.
County Judge and Commissioners, I'm Susie Bell Gosley, speaking on behalf of the League of Women Voters of Dallas at 2720 North Stemmons Freeway, Dallas, 75207. I would like to address the proposed change to the Dallas County Commissioners to meet twice a month and the additional proposed change to vote on issues the same day that the Commissioners are briefed and have discussion. The problem is that the change to the process will negatively affect the public's knowledge about and participation in the decision-making process with Dallas County Commissioners. The democratic process works best when there's transparency and the public participates in public policy making at the national, state, and local levels. As needs of society and the people's concerns change, the commissioners need to hear from the people. Public participation is a basic principle of a democracy and one of the greatest civil rights. The world has many countries that have documented the disempowerment of its people when public participation in one or many levels of government was disallowed. When citizens are not fully informed about issues and the proposed solution, the court basically is governing without hearing what the people think. The message is that the people of Dallas County are not capable of self-government. Dallas County Commissioners have an opportunity to promote and practice the highest ideals of democracy and create more safeguards and ensure good government. If anything, we need more public awareness of issues and the participation in determining solutions. As a democracy, Dallas County needs the informed participation of all the people to become a great and safe place to live and work. Democracy works when citizens are informed participants. The League supports the briefing and votes on issues occurring on separate dates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Susie.
And I have written testimony for you.
Thank you. If you'll give it to Mr. Martin, we'll make sure it gets into our record and we'll get a copy. Thank you very much. This concludes our public speakers, and the court will now recess for its closed session as authorized by Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code as previously posted. Any action as a result of the closed session will take place in the subsequent open session, and we'll begin that closed session in a few minutes.
Hey, Councilman, how are you, sir? All right, sir. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, real quick, man, just real quick. I told Brooks.
No action necessary as per the closed session. Court stands adjourned.
Proceed forward. I'm going to do.
Thank you.